Why hello there, AnxiousCynic back again with another Mine-imator tutorial. So as you can see here, if you watched the teaser last week, we have the Minecraft story mode face rig or mouth rig thing, and if we can do it well enough, I'm going to provide the link to download this rig in the description. But first we're going to cover how to make it, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to head on into Photoshop to do some texturing. So here we are in Adobe Photoshop Elements. This is what I use for most of my photo editing stuff. I normally use other softwares like GIMP in order to show you guys how to do it in a free software, but just whatever software you're usually using, you can use NovaSkin website or GIMP or whatever, Paint.net or whatever it is that you like to use to edit textures and skins and things like that. But anyway, what I'm going to do is open up this data folder, and then we're going to go into textures, and we're going to look for the item sheet. And right here we have items, so I'm going to go ahead and drag that into Photoshop and wait for it to load that up. There we go. And this is the default item sheet that you have within Mine-imator. I do have a thing available for download that's like a little checkerboard pattern, but I figured we'd just go ahead and start from scratch on this one today, and I'll just show you how to do it for yourself. So what I'm going to do here is bring in a new layer. We could work with the initial layer there, but just so we can keep it for reference, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So what I want to do is zoom in here. And what we're going to do is, I think these are about 16 by 16 pixels. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and make a square so I can see what my boundaries are. So this is 1, 2, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 16. So we're just going to draw that out, and that is a whole square for that. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and make another one. Let's just make it like a yellow or something. And this is just showing you how to make an item sheet. You don't really have to do all this stuff if you don't want to. This is just a way that you can make it yourself, or you can find it in my, I think, item rigging tutorial is the one that I did it in, and you can download the one that I already made. Anyway, sorry about all that, but there we go. So there's our little checkerboard pattern, and then I can extend that out. You don't have to do this. This is just what I do so I can see like the boundaries of where I'm working. So yeah, pay this no mind if you're not worried about that stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and set it up real quick, and we're going to get rid of the initial item sheet. And now I want to bring in a skin, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up that folder again. And what I'm going to do is find the character skin. We're going to go ahead and use Steve. We're going to zoom in again. And basically what I want to do is just take his mouth. So I'm going to get there in my taskbar again. I'm going to go ahead and select this area here. So I'm going to hit that, and I'm going to hit Control C to copy. Then I'm going to go back to our item layer sheet, and I'm going to hit paste. And there you go. Now you can work with these, like the actual rig that you saw in my example doesn't use an item sheet. You can just make this texture and save it. If you watch any of my previous item rigging tutorials, then you'll know most of this. I'm just kind of covering it for those who haven't seen it yet, and I highly recommend you go back and watch those if you haven't already. So here we go with our item is set up, and that's the mouth, and I'm pretty happy with this. We're gonna just leave it as is. We're just assuming this is the texture we're gonna go with. So what I'm gonna do is actually copy this and then drag it over. I feel like maybe it should be here. I'm just gonna drag these over to the edge like this because I think that's how Mine-imator uses it. I could be wrong there. You can pretty much put it anywhere you want. I just want to try to make it easier when I load it into Mine-imator. Anyway, so this is the one we want. So we're going to make a few different versions. Let's just go ahead and copy this out. We're going to have 4 different versions of the mouth because of the technique we're using here. And you'll see what that means in a little bit. Anyway, so we're going to go back to my selection tool, and we're going to make this one like this. We're gonna get the right layer here, then we're gonna cut that out. So this is gonna be our open mouth, and then the next one is gonna be the open like more narrow. So this is open wide, this is open narrow, and then this one is gonna be our smile. So we're gonna go ahead and select that. Let me actually just collapse these in so I can just work with one layer. Sorry about that Photoshop stuff. Anyway, so what I want to do is just go ahead and get this one, and then I'm going to add this to the selection and cut that. So this is our like open mouth smile. This is like a narrow open mouth, wide open mouth, and then this is the default look. Alright, so now that we've got those, we are pretty much good to go on all the parts that we need for the base mouth area. So I'm just going to go ahead and make that invisible, and I'm going to save this out as a PNG and bring it into Mine-imator. Alright guys, so we're back in Mine-imator. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new item. Let's just go ahead and move Steve over so that we can make sure we're working with things the way we want to here. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new item, and I'm going to select that item sheet for it, and we'll be good to go. Alright, so as you can see here, this is the item rig sheet that I made, and I'm going to go ahead and create that and bring it in. I'm going to select the first part, so we're going to go ahead and create that one, and there it is. As you can see here, we probably should have centered them because I'm dumb, but yeah, you may just want to center them up on the item sheet. I'll go ahead and change that in a little bit, but for now we're just going to work with this and bring them over. So first thing I want to do is find which direction I want them to go. I'm going to go ahead and even this out, which should be, was it 13 or 12.5? Looks like 13 is going to do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and just make the rotation point centered on that. So what I can do here is go into the library, and then I can find the item that I just brought in, and I can go to duplicate, and then that gives us another version of it, but it is not in the timeline yet. So I'm just going to duplicate it 4 times, or actually 3 times, and then that way we can just go ahead and change these by hitting that change button. I'm going to go to this and select the next part, and then I'm going to hit this button down here to create a new instance in the timeline, and as you can see, there it is. It popped into the timeline. I'm going to go ahead and do it for the rest of these. So I'll select the third one for that one, and then pop it into the timeline. Select this one, select the fourth one, pop it into the timeline, just like so. Alright, and then there's the taskbar again. I'm going to go to Item Properties, Custom Rotation Point, and then select that 13. We're just centering these up. If I had centered it up on the item sheet, then it would have already been that way, but what are you going to do? I'm burping. Alright, so here we go. There's all of our pieces, and now what I want to do is I'm going to click this button here, and this is snap the XYZ values to a grid. When I do that, then we have a grid size of 15, and these are basically degrees, as you can see here. It will go by 15 degrees, and I can go ahead and use it that way, or I can increase that. These are all going to be like in a square, so we're going to go ahead and make it 90 degrees. And then what we're going to do is select the second one, do like that, and then I'm just going to drag it over. And we can also go ahead and turn on the grid for moving them, and let me go ahead and do that. And hang on, let me get these set up. I actually didn't have them on 0. My bad. It's easier to rig if you work at center. That's all I'm going to say about that. I have previous tutorials where maybe that'll help you out if you're confused about any of this, so I apologize. Alright, so the grid now is 16, which is too big. Let's just make it about 4. That brings it over. That's a bit too much, so let's go ahead and do that. And we may be looking at half sizes here. I'm not 100% sure. We can actually make it 1 so we can just move it in singular increments. That's not going to work. Let's go about 0.5. This just helps you to line it up more precisely, that's all. Alright, so we got that, and I think that's pretty much how we want it. We're going to bring the next one over. We're going to go this way. Hang on a second. Hang on a sec. What is happening here? Alright, sorry about that. That was a little bit of a goof. Alright, so we're going to move that one there. And then this one, we're going to rotate it, then bring it over, and have it pop on over here. So what we have is this little square of items that we need. These may need to come over like this, technically. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look at the other one that I have, but I think this may be the more perfect square that you need. So basically they're just like touching corners all around, as you can see there. Alright, so what we're going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and name these real quick, and I won't subject you to that, so I'll be right back while I name these. Alright, there we go, we got them all named, and we're good to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these by clicking and dragging, or I can alternatively just select one and hold the shift key and then click on the rest of them, and now they're all selected. And I'm going to hit this button down here to create a new folder. Boop. And then what that should do is put them over into a folder. And what we want to do is actually line these up so that it's centered up. So what I'm going to do is come in here and select all the parts. And then we're just going to move them over. I think like this line here is a dead center. So what we want to do is drag these over right about like that. And then what we have is the rotation point is directly in the center of the mouth rig there, and that's what we want to happen. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and name the folder and name it, we'll just name it story mode, like SM, mouth rig, something like that. And then we're good to go. And that's pretty much how you would make the rig. If that's all you need to know, then that's pretty much it for the tutorial for you. But if you want to learn how to apply this to a face, then you can stick around for the next part. So yeah, if not, then happy trails. Hope this was helpful to you. And if you're sticking around, then let's go ahead and get started on bringing the character in and setting him up with this glorious mouth rig, and I'll show you how to use it. Alrighty, so here we go. We've got Steve in the scene. He's ready to go. And what we have to do is adjust this texture and go into Adobe Photoshop once again. Alright, so here we are in Adobe Photoshop, and what I'm going to do is go back to our character skin, and I'm going to deselect that, and basically this is the method that I use. There may be other ways to do it, I'm sure, but the way I'm going to do this is we're actually going to go ahead and remove the face from the skin. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that, and then we're going to save this as a skin on its own. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this. We're going to call it story mode mouth rig character skin, like that. We're going to save that. And there you go. So now we've got that saved. Whoops. And we're good to go on that. So what I'm going to do is undo that real quick. And I'm going to copy this and bring it over and add this to our item sheet. So this is where we're going to get things a little bit more in depth here and make this work better. Now, recall, if you will, the last step that we did earlier. Whoops. You need to have these, I guess, more centered, which would be something like that, I guess, and that will have your rotation point set up properly, unlike how I did it before. So apologies for that, but for now I'm going to leave it that way so we don't mess up what we've already done and stuff like that. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and paste, and we're going to get the skin in here for the face, and we're going to go like this. And basically you can set this up the way you normally would if you've watched any of my previous character rigging tutorials. We're just going to go ahead and remove the eyes, so I'm going to get rid of those. And then we're also going to get rid of the mouth, because this is what we're replacing in Mine-imator itself. So we're going to do like that. And then I'm just going to save this out as our item rigging sheet again. So basically, if you were going to do this from scratch the way we showed in the beginning, you would want to go ahead and do this while you were, doing the first part that we did. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and save that out as our skin and get going with that. Alright, so now we're back in Mine-imator, and what I'm going to do is go into the library here, and we're going to take the Steve here that we brought in, this character, and we're going to change his skin by going to this skin button, and we're going to go to browse, and we're going to select that skin that we just exported from Photoshop. So as you can see there is the Steve no face skin. That's the one that I made for my original, and this is the one that we just made now. I'm going to import that, and as you can see, it's pretty derpy. So what you want to do with that, we're going to select the Steve character in the timeline. We're going to go to his properties. We're going to go to graphics, and we're going to go to show back faces. And that way we'll see what we're working with here. That's the reason it looked pretty weird. That Steve is scaled up, as you can see, so this one looks like a little baby Steve. Anyway, so this is what we get. And then we also want to bring in a new item. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We could use another thing, but we're just going to do like such. And then we're going to go to the story mode item rigging sheet, and then since I already have it, it's the same name and wants me to replace it, which we'll do. We're going to go ahead and hit yes, and then I'm going to hit that and create, and there it is. There's our creepy looking face rig. All right, so we're going to go to face, just going to name it that so we can keep up with our stuffs here. I'm going to go ahead and parent this to the Steve, parent it to his head, and we're pretty good to go there. What we want to do though is bring this forward, so we're just going to set that to 1, so that brings it up 1 pixel every time we move it. And as you can see, since this is thicker, it actually brings it up to like a halfway point, which you can leave it that way if you want to. I think I kind of did that with the other one. Another thing you'll want to do is probably adjust the skin. If I show you on this one here, I made the sides of the face on the skin the same color. Whoa. The same color as the front, so that way you don't get that texture glitching stuff. If you watch my Z clipping, texture clipping, or whatever tips video, then you should know what that's all about. But as you can see here, I just made that side of the skin the same color as the face, and that way I didn't have to worry about the texture clipping. Hopefully you understand that. If not, I recommend watching that other video that I just mentioned. Alright, so for the sake of this, I don't want that distracting me, so what I'm going to do is just bring this forward just slightly. We're just going to go to 0.5 on the grid there, and then bring it up to the front, and that way you have this extra long face thing happening. I don't think you would want that in your final product. Just, just know that we're doing that just for the sake of the tutorial here. So now what we're going to do is take our mouth rig and we're going to parent it, and I'm just going to use the drag and drop method of parenting here. So I'm going to go over to this, highlight it while I'm holding that, and then let go, and that's going to drop it right there. And it looks like we're pretty good to go there, and what we want to do is just bring this forward like so. And there you go. Now that lines up pretty well. We do have this texture flickering thing going on here. I'm trying to recall. Whoa, good. You're moving so fast. I'm trying to recall exactly what I did to fix that. That was one little issue that I forgot. Okay, I think what we may need to do in order to fix this, let's just go ahead and bring it out real quick. We can take these parts here and remove them a little bit. So let me just go ahead and move them in. We're going to bring it in about half a pixel on all of them, like such. Just like that. And actually, that's not how that one should go. This one should go in like this, and so should this one. Just like that. So that way they're half a pixel in, and hopefully they will line up a little bit better there. Sorry about that. Did not remember that step because I'm dumb. But, you were here. You saw it. Alright, so there is the mouth rig, and as you can see, we no longer have that. And since they're centered up on the folder, that should not make any difference whatsoever, and we're good to go. So basically what you get here is this, mouth rig thing here, and we're going to go ahead and get rid of that rotation. So you basically have a normal looking Steve, and he's good. So what you'll do when you want to make the mouth move and animate, what you'll do is have the rotation grid size on 90. And what that does is when you rotate this, it'll just pop it to the next look there. As you can see, the next side. So that one's the narrow one. Let's actually give a little bit of a background here. Now, normally, I would have this set up, but we're just showing the mouth rig. If you're not sure about how to build a face rig, I have a tutorial on that, so feel free to check it out. But for this, we're just going to do this. I'm just going to make it so there's a little bit of a background there. Basically, what you'll see is the mouth just changes to each position as you would want it to. That's the wide open. This is the closed. Let's actually reset that. That's wide open, narrow open, and then the smile. So if you want to get even more diversity out of these, as you can see here, this is like a smile, but what if we want a frown? Well, I can rotate on the y-axis, and as you can see here, I don't have the thing lined up as it's supposed to be, so it kind of goes down. So what we're going to do is just go in here and select all of our parts again, and we're just going to move them up a couple of points so that the folder is halfway in between, and then we're just going to bring it up like so, and then that lines it up perfectly, and now we can do this little trick. Sorry about that. Once again, little steps that I'm forgetting, but hopefully this troubleshooting will help you in your future endeavors. Alright, so basically I can just flip this 180 degrees, and then now when we cycle through them, you have a frown face. You can see that very well, and then you have like the mouth open on the bottom, the mouth open wide on the bottom, and then there's just the mouth on the bottom on the base one if you wanted it to, but it's mostly for the open ones, of course, where you can have different expressions. This is like sad or like frightened or whatever. So it kind of depends on how you set this all up, like where you place them and things like that, or which way you use to rotate it. For instance, if I used the X there, then that's all I would have to change. So I can have this go, like let's say, what you want to do as well when you're animating this, you're going to probably want it on instant keyframe transitions. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. So I'm going to set the first one to instant, and that means every keyframe I create from now on with this timeline is going to be default to instant, which is what we want. So let's just go ahead and move that up, and then I can go ahead and reset this. So what you get is he's first frowning, and then he's happy again. And then every time we create a new keyframe, it will go ahead and put it back to the next one instantly with the instant keyframe transition. And we're just going to reset it. So then what we get with that animation is frown, smile, then open and closed. Something like that. And then you can try to do that with lip syncing or whatever it is you're wanting to do. And that would pretty much do it. So the other question you may be wondering is about this issue here. Like his mouth is just flat on the bottom and whatnot. And I think some people commented on this. When you look at this one, you have these little lips here on the top and bottom. And basically that's just a cube that I made in order to make it so that you don't have that flat little edge there. And it does make the mouth a little bit smaller on the top and bottom, but to me I actually kind of like the look of that. Don't know about you guys. If you wanted to, you can make an item sheet for the bottom of the head to make it thicker and stuff like that. So anything you want to do is up to you. But what I did, let me just go ahead and find this in here. Where we go? Where did I put it? There we go. We got lips, top and bottom, and we're just going to go with that. I'm just going to duplicate these out. It's basically just a cube. Let's just go ahead and parent these to the other Steve, to his head. There we go. And let's go ahead and set this up properly. So you just bring these to the front. As you can see there, they're kind of lined up very derpily. And we're just going to make them brought in a bit. This is gonna be 0.25. There we go. So basically what you'll get there is that, and then it's good to go. Sorry if this is a little bit clunky. Again, I made this like a week ago or something and stuff. So anyway, I can do like that. And these textures are kind of flickering and whatnot. If you have any problem with that, then of course, let me turn this grid off. You can actually move this back ever so slightly if you need to, or whatever you want to do. You can change the color of it. You can make this an actual item with the actual like skin texture on it or whatever you need to do. Anyway, what that does is kind of gives you that more whole look there just by adding that block. And of course, all I did was it's just a cube. Just if you spawn this in, it's a cube right there. And I just have it set to the color, the hex value of the mouth, or pretty close to it. And then the mix percentage is up, so that it's matching the skin. And that's pretty much it. Anything else you want to know about like how to rig a face rig or whatever, I have other tutorials on that, so hopefully this isn't too confusing with the way it looks right now. But hopefully that pretty much covers it. Sorry about some of the issues we had with how this all went, but yeah, that's pretty good. That's actually moving because I had the marker up in the timeline, unfortunately. Anyway, just ignore that, and that's pretty much it. So I'll be including it, basically this part right here. Let's go ahead and just duplicate it, and we're gonna give it no parent whatsoever. And let's just bring it out so we can look at it. This part here is what I will be including with the rig. This is all you're going to get if you get the download in the description, and it'll be all set up for you. And what you can do is the item sheet that I made to make this will be included in the download. It'll be a zip folder, so when you click on the link, look at the top right of the screen, there's like a little arrow to download. You'll download a zip folder. Just right click on it and extract it into its own folder, and then you'll have these files, like the item rig sheet, pretty much it, and then the rig file I think is all you should have in there. And you'll get this, and then you can take that item sheet and put it in your favorite photo editor or whatever it is you need, and adjust the texture as needed, and you'll get this beauty right here. So that's going to be it, guys. Hopefully that was helpful to you. Once again, sorry about some of the clunkiness we had going on with that, but hopefully you understand it, and hopefully this rig will be helpful to you. I know that doesn't really look like much of a rig, but what are you going to do? Hopefully it'll be helpful to you guys, and you can find a way to use it very creatively and whatnot, and this tutorial was helpful in some way. And with that, that's going to be the end of this. If I missed something, if I didn't explain something well enough, which I'm pretty sure probably happened in some way, then feel free to let me know in the comments, and I'll try to help you out with that. Anyway, that's going to be it, guys. Link will be in the description if you want to download this rig for yourself, or you can try to make it from scratch the way I showed in this here tutorial. Alright, so thanks for joining me, guys. Hope it was helpful. If it was, feel free to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe to become a citizen today. Share it with your friends and your family and your pets. If you want to see what I might be doing with this rig in the future, then feel free to check out the Box Spring Animations channel. That's where I'll be putting most of my new animations as long as that all works out. So yeah, head on over there if you want to see what I might be doing with this thing. Anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. Hope it was helpful once again. And I'll see you guys in the next video.